The top stories: inter-school sports may be held at a new venue. Granny, the iconic restaurant owner, dies at 96. And another disastrous day for Barbados at World Cup netball. Welcome to Nation News for Wednesday, August the 12th, 2015. Next year's inter-school sports may be held at UWI's Usain Bolt complex. Sports Minister Stephen Lashley says the Ryan Braffett track at the Blackrock complex is under consideration as an alternative venue since the National Stadium may not be in use at the time. But he was quick to add that the stadium, whose stands are due to undergo major rehabilitation, has not been ruled out since temporary seating could be put in place. Speaking during a sports day for national summer campers at Waterford, he said the aim was to ensure that the school meets are held within the usual time frame. All 5 stands at the National Stadium were closed to the public in April on safety grounds. Government is seeking to source about $100 million to build new facilities at the venue, which was opened in 1970. It is no secret that Caribbean nations are drowning in debt, a situation that became stark this month when Puerto Rico defaulted on a loan. Each country has been trying to do its own thing, but Finance Minister Chris Sinclair says the issue needs to be tackled as a bloc. He told a hemispheric debt conference in Barbados that the CARICOM Committee on the Economy was looking at ways the region could manage its debt and develop a coordinated response.
The Commission has correctly concluded that even as individual countries pursue much-needed fiscal, monetary, and other economic reforms to correct their debt variables, the problems which we currently face, present an ever-constraint to growth, cannot and will not be wrestled to the ground unless we act as a region to confront the international community about this problem.
Mr. Sinclair said that while the individual efforts might produce results, the long-term costs would be severe. A recent report by the London-based Jubilee Debt Campaign Group said 5 Caribbean countries are already in a debt crisis, with a further 3 at risk. Barbados was not included in either group, in spite of its high debt to GDP ratio. The founder of the popular Oyston's eatery Granny's has died at the age of 96. Evelyn Walcott, known to all as Granny, died at home late on Tuesday night after a prolonged illness. She was also a fixture among foundation school students, having operated the canteen at the Old Boys School for more than 40 years. In 2009, Granny was awarded a Barbados Service Medal for her contribution to the hospitality industry. Attorney General Adriel Brathwaite says he has no problem with police officers investigating their own. Speaking in the House of Assembly on Tuesday, Mr. Brathwaite said he was fairly confident, to use his words, in the integrity of those working within the Force's Office of Professional Responsibility. He pointed out that Barbados does not have a history of wrongdoing by police being swept under the carpet, and if anything, too many officers find themselves in handcuffs. The community college is reporting a drop in the number of Canadian scholarships being offered to students of the college. The figure is down by almost a half from the estimated 15 granted last year. Registrar Sidney Arthur has blamed the situation on the college's inability to maintain contact with Canadian learning institutions. He told Nation News more personnel and funds should be allocated to maintaining such relationships.
Yeah, I'm very disappointed. I'm very disappointed because my target really for this year would have been about 50 students. Because as you can imagine, there are lots of colleges and universities in Canada. And once you establish that relationship and you identify the courses that are available at each institution, even if an institution say we'll take 3 or we'll take 4, it adds up.
Mr. Arthur was speaking on Wednesday as the BCC held a pre-departure orientation for students who are due to leave the island later this month to study abroad. A regional group has offered to provide mentorship to Barbadian youths. It's the Caribbean Mentorship Institute, whose director is Felicia Brown.
We've observed the kinds of difficulties that they've had and challenges we've observed in terms of crimes within our young persons, and it's alarming. And so one of the things that we want to do is to build a base for mentors where we have persons, qualified persons, and also not only qualified but caring persons that want to look back and help a young child, help a young man or woman, and so give them that kind of motivation so that they'd want to do more positive aspects within the societies. So we're out for other Caribbean islands. We're from St. Lucia, Trinidad, Barbados, Jamaica, and the idea is to work with youth organizations, and not only organizations that has the structure, but also what we would call high-risk kids, persons, young men that are on the blocks, give them the kind of empowerment that is needed so that they feel part of the community.
In sport, another day, another loss for Barbados at the Netball World Cup in Australia. The disastrous run continued with a fifth straight defeat, this time 48-37 at the hands of Fiji. Next up, Sri Lanka, who are also without a win. So, touch wood for the Bajan Gems. Barbados will be represented by 27 swimmers at the Goodwill Swim in Trinidad and Tobago over the coming weekend. Barbados were third last year when the meet was held in Suriname. And finally, a murderer in the United States has received $2,500 payout after he argued a prison guard had violated his rights by refusing to let him hug his wife. Kevin King, who is serving a life sentence for a 1982 murder in Oakland County, Michigan, claimed prison officer Tiffany Williams stopped him from embracing his wife as retaliation for their complaints against her. Jurors in Detroit federal court last week awarded the 52-year-old $2 for a violation of his First Amendment rights and $2,500 Barbados dollars as damages. And that's where we end the Nation News. For more, log on to nationnews.com as well as YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And remember to pick up your Daily Nation on Thursday or subscribe to our e-paper.